And we are live, so we'll just see how many people we'll get, and I guess we'll just kind of talk about fishing. So we'll give it just a minute here just to make sure that everything is working and get going. But yeah, Garrett, if you want to kind of lead it off, just kind of talk about how it's been on Devil's Lake, what it's kind of looking like, and maybe after a little bit we'll talk a little bit about some open water.
Yeah, so overall, this winter was very good for most of the people on the lake. The perch numbers are great, the size is great, and we were able to stay consistently on them for most of the winter, with some periods here and there where it struggled a little bit. But the one thing that was a little bit elusive was the walleyes this winter. I usually try to get out and get a few of them, and this winter it just seemed like you were better off to go after the perch. And another thing I saw a lot this winter was the bite would be almost done by noon. Some days in that first 2 hours, you caught pretty much all of your fish. And once you hit that 10, 11 o'clock, it was just a grind, and you could pick fish away here and there, but nothing like that first sunrise bite. So that was kind of the main focus, was the perch. Travel conditions were fairly challenging on the lake this winter. If you didn't have tracks, you really struggled to get around. And then now this last snowstorm that we got about a week ago, 10 days ago, slush is becoming we're just trying to get around, and I ended up getting stuck. And I know of a Ranger with tracks that got stuck, a Jeep Wrangler with tracks that got stuck this morning. So yeah, it's been tough travel out there now, and we're gonna have to melt some of the snow down, trying to get to bare ice before anybody really gets too crazy again. And who knows, maybe we'll just get warm and stay warm and things will go off quick. So we'll just kind of have to see what happens.
What are you forecasted to get tomorrow?
So that was kind of crazy. This morning when I looked, we were forecasted for an inch, and now I see 3 to 6 is this last.
Yeah.
They're saying rates to 1 inch per hour, and there's going to be a narrow band there that's getting quite a bit. So I guess we'll see what we end up getting. If we get 6 more inches on top of what we got, I don't know. If you're coming out here to try to do it, good luck to you. But I think you're going to almost be snowmobile at that point. That's going to be a lot of weight on that ice.
What are you looking at kind of for ice conditions out that way?
The ice conditions are good. It's just the snowpack that we have on top of it. So this year we have a little bit less than we had last year. I'd say we're more in that 25 to 30 inch range. But with snow on top of it, we have anywhere from probably 6 inches to almost 2 feet in places of snow. Just kind of depends on how it blew in and what it did when it fell.
Okay. Marshall, up on Lake of the Woods, did you guys use extensions on bare ice, not including the houses, but on bare ice yet, or?
No, never put them on.
Okay.
We needed them in our houses, but we haven't needed them. We were sitting on probably, honestly, 15 to 25 inches of ice, depending on the snowdrift you're under.
Right. What do you, I mean, the forecast is going to vary. The temperature is obviously one of the biggest dictators, but when does kind of ice go out on Devil's Lake?
So kind of depends on the year. Last year at this time, I would have been done, and the ice was getting iffy. Where we had bare ice, there's no snow on top of it, and in the mornings you drill through 2-3 inches of solid ice, and then you hit honeycomb. So it'll be interesting to see how long we're going to hold on for this year. In the 10-day forecast, we really don't have that much for warm temps. Low 30s really, but it change much.
Because I'm sure it's going to take some time especially if you get another dumping of snow. I mean, I guess that can be good and can be bad, I guess, but.
Yeah, and you can start thinking about that water level coming up this year. Last year we came up 4 feet. This year they're forecasting a 50% chance that we go up a foot. That was the last report that I saw. And if we get another 6 inches, and I think that last forecast or that last report was before we got this previous snowstorm. So you had this shot and the shot before, and who knows, a rain or two, and we could be coming up quite a bit this spring like we did last year. So
right.
It'll be interesting to see. I guess it'll all depend on how things melt and what we get for more moisture this spring.
Is your lake level fairly normal out there right now, or?
Well, that's I don't know if normal can be considered with Devil's Lake and water levels, and You want to look
I
back,
heard you ask.
kinds of different things there. But 2011 was the high point, and we're about 4.5 feet from that high point now. We did go down 7 feet from that high point in 2020, and then this last year we came up 4. So we could see if we get another big push like we did last year, we could be right back to that high point. And fishing was pretty good when it was high, and we saw that last summer where that spring bite really kicked off early with that water coming in, and it stained up that water pretty good. Where some years we don't get any runoff and we get clear water, and you're trying to catch walleyes in a foot or two of water, it's pretty tough.
Right. What's the Lake of the Woods level? Is it right now? I haven't even looked.
Right now, the last I looked, and I'll check it out here, and I'll give you when you're talking to Garrett next time, we'll come back. But the last time I looked was about a week ago, and we are right about normal to a little below for the Rainy River runoffs, and that's kind of what I watch. I watch that more than the actual lake. Just I don't know. Seems like it affects me more.
Is the Rainy starting to open up? Or are we not even close there? Or what's that?
So the last I checked was yesterday. My daughter goes to school in Indus, and so I kind of watch it every day. Yesterday it was about 2 miles west of Indus, wide open shore to shore. So which is about 5 or 6 miles from Birchdale. So that'll be the first big access that opens.
Do you have you ever been out on the Rainy, Garrett, or?
I have not. No. In years past, when that Rainy River bite has been going, I've made the trip out to Lake Erie or the Missouri River. So
Okay.
at the two places that I've gone the past couple of years in the spring, and I actually leave for Lake Winnipeg here in 2 days, and that'll be kind of my spring trip. And
Okay.
no, I've never done it. Be something to see. I kind of hear all the bumper boats and the sturgeon and all the different things that get caught. And but
Have you not tried the sturgeon thing either? Then
I have not. No. It looks like a pretty good time.
it is. It is. There's a guy on the screen here that kind of got me started on that.
I broke Cody's sturgeonity.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was. It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun, and it's it doesn't seem like it's a place where you sit for hours and hours and hours and don't catch anything either. Like you're not guaranteed, but you got really good chances to catch a big one too. We caught the last time we were up last year, we got a 60. I think it was a 66 and a 64 in the boat within a couple hours.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool, and saw a lot of fish being caught too. So
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to worry about the water clarity with the sturgeon like the walleyes? Or
Not so much.
No? Okay.
No. Everybody that talks to me and I try to explain sturgeon fishing to them. Have you ever catfished, Garrick?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been on the bed quite a few different times.
Yep. So agave night crawlers on a 4-aught circle hook, toss it out there with a 18-inch leader behind it, let her sit, and that's kind of how we do it. It's a lot like catfishing. I grew up in the Red River Valley, so
Okay.
do
you put the clickers on then and
Yep.
let them go?
clickers or bells.
Okay.
Yep, same way, really. It really is.
Oh, that'd be pretty slick then. I've got all the rods to do it.
Yeah, if you're catfishing, you got the right stuff to do it. It's a lot of fun. It's a gas. It's the biggest fish you're going to catch in Minnesota.
Yeah, no, that'd be an experience for sure.
Have
you heard of many sturgeon getting caught lately, or when guys are ice fishing? Or
well, season's not open right now, but yeah, there's some being caught accidentally. Some big ones too, and we're looking at some big pike coming in right now too. Earlier than normal, I think. But
what kind of depths are you running into pike right now?
They're running into them anywhere to that 12 to 4 feet. I wouldn't be afraid to even try shallower than that right now, actually, or a little deeper. I would say if you're going to target pike right now, you're going to want to be in that 3 to 16 foot stuff. And it's only going to get better. It's the once we get a little bit of water runoff and a little bit of oxygen in that water, they really crank up, and then it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Do you guys get into much tip ups out your way, Garrett? Or
We used to 5-6 years ago, and kind of beyond that. If guys said they wanted to go chase flags, it was kind of game on, where you could have a flag up all the time. And we're not seeing the size of pike that the guys are chasing up on Lake of the Woods, but as far as numbers go, there was a lot of those 3 to 6 pound pike. And on top of that, you could do a lot of spearing. Guys were having a lot of success with that, where you might have 2-3 fish in the hole at one time, and it was kind of crazy. There was a lot of really
You
fun.
spear them late?
What's that?
You spear them late in the season, like right now?
The March 15th is when it's the spearing closes.
Okay.
So they might have actually just changed that. We just changed some of our spearing rules here this last year, and I don't remember if that was one of the rules that got changed or not. But yeah, we could get them in March, and I always like to do it earlier in the year just because you don't have to deal with as much ice. But
right.
No, and then we had to saw those numbers decline, and they really haven't come back yet. Where we have more perch and walleyes and white bass in the system than what we did in those years, and so it's kind of a trade-off that we'll have, and give it a few more years, and I'm sure those pike numbers will come back.
Because there was, I know at one time, like Devil's Lake was a place to go for big northerns, and what do you think kind of contributed to that?
I think water level. From basically 2008 to 2011, you had the lake rising significantly every year. And then from 2011 to 2020, it didn't really come up at all, where it maybe come up a foot in the spring. You just didn't have that main runoff. And then now this last year was the first year that we really saw that again. So I think that's one of the main issues. But as far as being a biologist, I'm not one, and I don't play one on TV. So
right. Do you guys? Is there because Devil's Lake is connected to so many other smaller lakes? Is there some places that are better than others, or is it just kind of a crapshoot wherever you go?
So I'd say it depends what you're looking for. So on those northern feeder lakes, if you're looking for walleyes and pike, that's your best. When things get muddy, but they're far. So that's kind of that north feeder lake stuff. More walleyes, northerns. If you catch a perch, it's going to be a big one. But dropping down in the west part of the lake, kind of that Pelican, West Bay, Graham's Island area, you're going to see those more northerns, walleyes. Kind of same with the perch. Maybe more perch than what are going to be lakes, but less, more quality. Numbers perch, the walleye. But right now they are seeing the largest number of walleyes that's ever been recorded in Devil's Lake. That being said, I'd say most of the price 6 or so. Fair amount there's a lot of years out there. So
I think we're losing your audio a little bit, Garrett.
are we? All right.
I can hear you now just fine.
You can hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
For a little bit there, it was really chopping in and out.
I wonder if my Wi-Fi screwed up on
When does the sturgeon open up, Marshall?
Sturgeon opens April 24th. Keep season opens April 24th through May 7th.
Okay.
We still have limited availability.
Okay. What's Lee's asking? What's the report?
Report on the lake. Walleye fishing's been not a lot of numbers, but decent size to our keepers from what we had from the guys that are in right now. Our houses are off, so I don't have a good sample, but nobody seems upset when they're coming in. They're like, not a lot of numbers, but size is okay. And I know they're fishing close to home.
Is there that you know of? Is there anybody way out still, or
Not that I know of.
okay? I suppose the are the roads kind of getting blown in, I
Right
guess.
now, our roads are great. We're gonna run them through this weekend for sure. We don't have any houses out, but I mean, if you want to come up, I mean, it's our roads are it's good. Roads are really good. You can get around. Little tough with like four wheelers, but there's enough plow spots off the edges of the roads. You can get off with a pickup and a portable or your snowmobile or whatever, you know.
Okay. And out on Devils, you guys are yeah. It's gonna probably after tomorrow would be the time to tell, I suppose, huh?
Yeah, and Woodland, they've pulled all their houses out now, so they've quit plowing their roads. That's all blown in around Creel Bay. The casino, I haven't been down there here recently to see if they're still plowing or if they quit doing that. Same with East Bay. But usually this time of year, it kind of turns into a ghost town around here, and there's a whole lot of people out and about. But this could be some pretty good fishing here coming up. It just kind of depends on what the conditions are like.
What when you guys get ready for open water? Is there a date you kind of start? Because you're open continuous. Do you guys like wait a couple weeks after it opens up, or do you guys kind of hit it immediately?
So it just kind of depends on what the season's like or what the weather's like. So we kind of shoot for that May 15th time frame. Um, Last year I was May 13th, and I think it was 35 degrees for a high, and we had 20, 30-mile-an-hour winds, and it was an experience those first couple of days. But the group was coming regardless, so we got out and fished. And some years it seems like it's May 1st, and we've got 80 degrees, and we're out and about fishing. So it just kind of depends on what that weather's like. But I, if I can start to get kind of that rising water temp and go around chase them with a jig and a plastic, and once I locate fish, try to use bobbers and leeches and really try to put some numbers in the boat and kind of see what happens.
What's kind of your favorite method of trying to catch them in the spring? Just jigging them in a plastic or jigging a minnow or
Yeah, we don't do a whole lot of just vertical jigging. Mostly what I'll do is quarter-ounce jig with a walleye assassin, Charlie Brewer slider, something like a paddle tails type bait. Another thing, once that water temp starts coming up a little bit, number 5 flicker shad wrap, something like that, crankbait casting, and just trying to locate fish with those. And then once fish are located, then bobbers and leeches, anywhere from a foot to 5 feet of water, depending on where those fish are at.
right. Question for you, Marshall: are you allowing wheelhouses still?
We are not.
Okay.
There might be a couple resorts that are, but we are done with our wheelhouses for the season.
Okay. When you when do you kind of go? You kind of quit when when you have to have them off, like when the because it's different on Lake of the Woods than it is regular Minnesota, correct?
Yeah, we can keep houses out to the end of this month, but generally, you know, when you're looking at the huge warm ups and cool downs, and Garrett will probably agree with me. I mean, you're looking at so many road conditions that could change daily with pressure ridges and everything else when you have the huge ups and downs. You know, if we can make that 15th of March, we're happy. And everything after that is okay, you know.
Mm-hmm. So you're going to be what is opener this year? Is it the 15th?
It's
Right
actually
around there, I think.
Paul's Mother's Day weekend. I'll look it up for you.
Because you guys are continuous on Devil's Lake, so you guys can kind of start whenever it's appropriate.
Yep.
Have you ever ice fished in May?
I have never gone in May. No, I've done late April, but never gone out.
Okay.
And we've got the bridges are starting to open up at this point as well. Some of these guys on warmer evenings, you guys sneak down those rocks and start casting for them in that open water right towards dark.
Right.
Opening day for us is May 14th.
May 14th. Okay. I wonder what it's going to look like May 14th around here.
We're going to be wide open.
Think so?
We don't have that much ice. I can't. It seems like the winter that never ends. I mean, we put 205 miles on the snowmobiles today, but who can ever say they've done that this late in the year? But we don't have that much ice. We don't need that much warm to make it go. Honestly, yep. I really think we're going to have open water by opener.
We get that snow melted down that water to run through, and that should.
We don't have a lot of ice. I mean, we're drilling. We were 2 weeks ago. We were still drilling 15 inches in places.
Huh. Yeah,
which is nothing.
The last time I was up north, I was about probably 2 inches from needing an extension. But that'll go fast up there because it always does, current and stuff, whatever. And of course, current areas were less. But out on Devil's Lake, there's really not a whole lot of current over that way, is there?
Around the bridges, you get current. But other than that, not a whole lot.
Okay.
Think about it too. Last year at this time, we were warm. We had ice deteriorating rapidly, and then we hit April, and our ice stopped melting. We got cold again, and we had 2-3 weeks of cold weather. I'd rather see this, and then once we hit middle of April, just get warm and peak out and be done.
Right. Yep. I'm ready to get on open water. I've had it with ice this year. I'm ready to go. Everyone's excited, in the fall, waiting for first ice and all that. But by the end of winter, just ready to go. Because I saw Bismarck had like 90 inches of snow this winter.
Yeah, so they're knocking on their record. I think they've had the third most amount of snow that they've ever had this year, and I don't think they're forecasted for tomorrow, but they got quite a bit there, and I think Fargo's 50 inches for the year. We're around the 70 mark.
Yeah, because you've got more than what we've got even.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's what. So, just talking a little bit about open water on Devil's Lake. How many guides are out there at Bry's Guide Service?
So we got 6 guys that are pretty much full-time year-round with us. We've got a couple guys that come on just for the winter time. So those guys they're wrapped. We'll have the main guys going this summer, and May, you never really know, kind of just weather dependent. We'll kind of sprinkle in here and there, and then once we get Memorial Day weekend, so pretty much September, a little bit here and there. October, and then duck hunt show up, and crazy again there for a little bit. So it'll be kind of a ghost town here for the next month around Devil's Lake. Every year it's kind of goofy. You see the restaurants and the bars packed for the last 3 months, and then everybody leaves now. So
right. You guys don't have any charter services, right?
No, nothing like what you see out on Lake of the Woods. Everyone goes out. I don't think anybody leaves their boat in a marina. It's gathered every day. Your group is your group. We don't mix any. That.
Marshall, how many guys you got working for you this summer?
John and I. You met John. Kevin, he'll be here. So we only have the 3 charters in the summer.
Okay. And
they run pretty steady. John and I are full time. We're out every day pretty much, and then we fill it in with Kevin. Fills in pretty much everything, and then we fill in a couple of these slots where he can't pull it in with a couple other guys.
But you've got 35 motel rooms?
No, we have 16 motel rooms, 64 beds.
Okay, that's right. Okay. So you're not only catering to just charter fishing, but if people want to come up with their boats and stuff.
The big thing is everybody loves us because of our parking lot. Big, huge. You've been here before. Back it up to your room, plug it in at night. We're a mile from the access.
And then you got you're open 24/7, 365 basically too.
We are.
So, do you guys rent rooms out there, Garrett, after your season is closed, or is it, or after you're done fishing, or is it just kind of you get kind of close her down for a while?
Yeah, they're always available. As far as people coming in right now, there's not a whole lot. In the fall, we'll see some groups coming in kind of on their own, trying to do their own thing, duck hunting, or maybe some of the early ice stuff. But the last couple of years, it seems like once we hit ice, everything's kind of in full swing, normal mode. At that point, we haven't had anything too crazy around here the last couple of years. So, but most of the people that are staying at the lodge are fishing with us.
How many guys can you accommodate out there? I can't remember.
I want to say off the top of my head, low 30s.
Okay, so it's quite a bit then.
Quite a bit. Yep. There's 4 different units there, and they can be opened up into one big unit between the one main house and the Pike's Place, which is the shop house, or they can be separated off into 4 separate units.
Okay, what's kind of your prediction for the open water season this year?
I think it's going to be pretty good. Like I was saying earlier, our walleye numbers are very high. And one thing that's been kind of exciting the last 2 summers is you're catching all different sizes. There's a lot of different year classes where there was a few years ago where you either caught a 14-incher or you caught an 18-incher, and then maybe you caught like a 24. It just seemed like there was those year classes and you didn't catch anything in between. And now we're seeing everything anywhere from that 13 to 20-inch range to where we've got a lot of up and comers. We're seeing the same with the perch, which we don't see that many perch in the summertime, but the last 2 summers it's been the most I've seen. So no, I think it's going to be a pretty good year. Hopefully we can get some good runoff, have the lake come up a couple feet, and weather be good, and another good year.
What's kind of your top end walleye out there for size in the summer?
We can get those upper 20-inch fish. I'd see your average day. You're going to keep a limit of fish that are 14 to 18 inches. You might get a few days where those 18 to 20s may be a little bit more common. Kind of depends on the day, location, what's going on. I'm trying to think. I think last summer, as far as having that 28 to 30-inch mark, I only had 3 or 4 of them for the whole summer. So we don't see a ton of those big fish. I tell people, if you're looking for eater fish, Devil's Lake's the place to be. If you're looking for a 30-incher for the wall, probably not the place to come.
Right. Because I was out there fishing off a bridge last September, and I couldn't catch a fish under 23 inches. Okay. They were all 23 to 25. It was just insane. I've never – the guy that brought me out there said, you'll catch a lot of really nice fish, and they'll be in that mid-20s. And he's like, you won't catch anything else. And I couldn't believe it, fishing off a bridge. I just couldn't believe it.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, it was really something.
Yeah, and coming up into this spring, kind of depends on what the runoff is. But we can have some phenomenal shore fishing. Devil's Lake is one of the top shore fishing places in the States, and it's for good reason. Like you said, you came up and caught all those nice fish, and you can see that if you hit the right day, right spot, I think it can go pretty good.
There's a question up here, Marshall. They're asking, when do you think the rainy will be fishable?
Well, depends on where you want to go. So I'm guessing Birchdale. I'm going to pop my calendar right now. If I had to make a guess, Birchdale is going to be right around the 1st of April. And then you're looking at Frontier 3 to 4 days after that. Vitus 2 days after that. Baudette 2 days after that. Wheeler's Point out here where we're at, a couple days after that. So Birchdale's the first one to go, And
once those landings, once they start to open up, do they, like if we start getting a bunch more snow, do they plow them?
Cooch will plow. Lake of the Woods County will plow. Coochiking County is amazing with getting them landings open. As soon as they can bust it, they got a backhoe down there, and they will open them up as soon as they can get them open.
Okay.
They're really good about it, and so is Lake of the Woods County.
Okay, well, that's good, because that was kind of my question. I was like, yeah, but if we got 8 feet of snow sitting on the ground. How's the guy going to get a boat in there? If they
I'll
don't.
keep some updates with you too, Cody. And I drive, like I said, I'm back and forth to Indus every day with my daughter to school, and I'm looking at the river every day. So
Okay.
we'll have some good reports on that.
Have you seen any boats yet?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I drove down so it was like 3 miles, or I wouldn't even 2.5 to 3 miles west of Indus today when I was out there, which is still east of Birchdale, and that's the first one to go, the first major one to go. So I'm guessing it's going to be 7 to 10 days, maybe, because we don't have that warm of a forecast in front of us
Right.
now.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
So for that spring bite, those sturgeon, are they going right away, or is it the walleyes, or is it kind of a mix? How does that kind of shake out over there?
sturgeon will go right away. The sturgeon will go right now if we had some open water. There's guys, they're accidentally catching them right now when season's not open.
Okay.
But used to be we'd go up there and we'd fish walleyes and we'd get mad at the sturgeon because we couldn't keep them off the lines, before they really released a season technically and everything else. This was 15 years ago, and they'll go right away. And
Okay.
like I said, sturgeon don't mind muddy water either.
It's just as long as you can keep your baits on the bottom, and that was the problem last year. Is we quit because when everything busted open,
Current.
it just
Oh,
current was so strong. Yep.
gotcha.
So we were using towards the end there. I was using like a 12 to 14 ounce weight, and that wasn't staying on the ground on the bottom.
Well, we lost our whole sturgeon season last year. I think we only took 2 trips because of the runoff and the debris, and
Yep.
you got to look at the cost factor and wrecking boats. I mean, there was so much debris and so much high water last year. We lost our whole sturgeon season, so we're pretty excited about it this year.
Yep. Yeah. It was hopefully it'll be decent. I hope. Hey, there's Joe. Joe said he's going to be doing some. Is Joe going to be hooking up with you for the sturgeon season, Marshall?
Joe's going to be up here. I haven't talked to him about it yet, but he'll be up here.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're hoping to thaw out here eventually, but it just doesn't look anything good as of right now. It just I guess after tomorrow, hopefully that'll be the last snowstorm, last snow that we're gonna have to deal with. But I don't know.
Yeah, I was moving my snowblower around again in the garage, and I don't know.
It'd be nice to put it away.
It would be nice, yeah, open up a little bit more space, but I don't dare. Don't dare.
Was the overall this winter on Devil's Lake? How was the perch bite? Was it pretty good throughout the year? Did it kind of ebb and flow, or was it just pretty steady?
It was pretty steady. I'd say it was the most steady year I've seen. Usually, you kind of get that early ice run, and everybody gets all excited, and then that rolls till middle of January. There till kind of end of February. Usually, it's kind of a hit or miss. One day they're here, gone the next. Try to string as many days together as you could with numbers of fish. And this year, it just seemed like you could get on a spot and it'd be hot for a week, and then it didn't seem like it took long to find that next hot spot. So we were able to roll into it pretty good, and it was a little bit disappointing kind of seeing the March bite, just because usually this time, you're seeing that late ice bite. They're fired up again, and you can go all over. And they didn't really see that. It seemed like it was almost kind of second February where we just had that same pattern that we saw for middle of winter. And I don't know if I'll even really get to fish that late ice perch bite. We'll just kind of go.
How about crappies? You run across any crappies?
Oh, I would say that I do, but they're far and few between. I had one last summer. It was actually pulling lead core, Salmo Hornet number 5. The guy was letting the line back out. It suspended over about 20 feet of water, and that one was 14 inches, and it was thick. I don't know. That thing had to be 3 inches wide. And that's the only one I saw this last year. Some years I see a few, some I see none. but I don't really ever target them. It's just kind of a bycatch while you're walleye fishing.
Okay. Is there a targetable population on Devil's Lake for crappies?
I don't know. I think that depends on who you ask. Personally, yes and no. If you can hit the right bay in the springtime, you can get on a few. And it seems like after that, they're kind of random here and there. Some bays, if you were to hit that bay hard and fish it consistently, I think you could have more numbers of them. But it's tough. With the live scope now as well, that'd be one thing I should go try on a day off is just go to some of those bays and look around and see if I can see that suspended school ripping around and if I could get on top of them, but I never have.
Mm-hmm. That was one question when you said that word. I'll ask Marshall first, unless you're busy. But how much has live scope changed the way you fish this year?
My life. I love it. I could have never even imagined how everybody says how it's good, and it's pretty awesome. It really is. I love it. It's a serious game changer.
Now you're using the 32, right?
Yes, I am. I don't have a 34 yet, and I don't know. I'm probably going to have a 34 by the time the season's over this summer, but I don't know. The feedback I've got in the depths of water we fish, I don't know. People are like, they don't see the big difference.
Well, I'll bring it up there when we go sturgeon fishing, and I'll bring mine because I bought the 34.
We use them hand by hand.
Yeah, see what you think. So, how much is live scope changed? Is that what you're using, Garrett? Is live scope? I'd assume.
Yeah, and I have mine mounted directly in my Snow Bear HDMI to two different TVs. And as far as locating fish, I haven't been able to just drill in, drop it down, look around, and go, there's a pocket of fish 20 feet that way. It just, our fish sit so tight to the bottom.
Right.
We're out in that 35 to 50 feet of water trying to see a perch school. It is doable, but it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
So we're using it more as like a Vexlar where we're putting it down there. Everybody can look at the TVs. They're able to see their jig. One thing I really like though is it's easy to teach. With the Vexlar, there's a little bit of a learning trick to it, and then you throw a fish on there, and now with the live scope, it's plain as day. I can see what's going on. I can see what the client's doing with their jig. I can tell them they need to lift it, drop it, whatever they need to do. With the Vexlar, I was just guessing that they needed to be and hoping that they were there.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm able to see everything. And one thing that I've thought has been really cool is if I'm, let's say, 20 feet of water for walleye fishing, I don't know how many times I've seen it where someone catches a walleye, they reel it up, knock it off on the bottom of the ice, and you watch that fish go about 10 feet down, and that guy's dropping his jig back down and he smashes it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe that. I always thought when you're with Vexlars that, that was another active fish that just came in and hit. But really just to see that whole picture has been very impressive.
I had that happen to me 4 times on one fish this winter. I could not keep him pinned. I don't know why, but he hit it 4 times, and I would have never believed it. And I would have never been able to get him to hit because you could see him. You could see him going down.
The other thing too is I really like being able to see what that fish is doing. Where you get an aggressive walleye, you start jigging it up with your Vexlar, and he goes out of the cone. Well, did he lose interest, or is he just turning around to get a better angle at it? Where the live scope, you see everything. Able to lift higher, drop lower, do what you need to do. It seems like you can entice more bites.
Yep. It was one thing that I found really interesting is I fish mostly up at the north end of Lake of the Woods, so up in the islands, drilling around reefs and going on the transition and finding the transition, and then like how many fish I saw middle of the water column and up.
Really? Okay.
And I would have thought it would have been kind of the other way around, obviously, but
yep.
Man, I've really started fishing a lot higher off the bottom. I honestly probably didn't fish walleyes very much under 24 inches off the bottom this year. and watch fish come in from 20 feet away. I mean, so there's no doubt that they can see. I mean, it was just really something, and I caught a lot of suspended fish using live scope. So I made many trips to Shields where I got halfway there and I turned around and went home because I just had to talk myself out of buying the live scope. And then I was actually in the store a couple times, and then I ended up buying it in pieces off on the internet. So,
Okay.
but it's changed how I fish for sure, for sure.
Yeah, and I was actually getting it somewhat ready today. I'm gonna finish up tomorrow. I'm taking my live scope out of my Snow Bear. Mine's a 1243 for the head unit, and so putting that on a shuttle pack isn't really all that convenient. But
Right.
I'm gonna rig that up so when I'm up on Winnipeg this next week, I'm really curious to see what that's gonna be like, and if I can look around and see those big fish swimming around. And
Do you use it portable in your boat, or do you have it solid mounted?
so in the last couple years, I've solid mounted it, and then just kept it right at the console, and then been able to just flip the transducer right over the side and look around. And mainly, I use mine if I'm bobber fishing, or every once in a while, I'd use it pulling spinners if I'm on a weed edge, trying to stay on that weed edge and not get into it. But I don't know. It'd be nice to have another one in the boat, but they don't give them away. That's for sure.
Right.
You ever thought about renting them out in the winter?
What's that?
We rent them in the winter.
Okay.
Huge responses from it. I mean,
Yep.
we used to rent Vexlars,
Yep.
and everybody is like, rent a Vexlar. We want to rent a Vexlar. We want to rent a Vexlar. And you talk them into renting this one time. The only problem is, once they rent it, they're going to go buy one. That's the only problem with it, because they're so good. They're like, I'm going home and I'm buying one. But it's easier to run. Like I tell people, it's easier to run than a Vexlar or a Markham or anything. It's so simple. You turn it on and it goes.
Yep. What do you guys charge per day to rent one?
We charge $125 a day.
Okay, so that's not too bad, especially
No, because when you think about it, if you got 4 guys in the house and you can see all 4 lures, we're $45 a day for a Vexlar rental. So, like I tell guys, you're saving money renting a live scope. Really they are.
Yeah, because you can all see it.
Yeah, you can see everything.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it's more of an enjoyable experience than just everybody and you don't have to worry about the interference and everything.
Yeah, there's no interference. There's no nothing. It's so simple, and it's live right there.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's changed my fishing.
Have you guys had any experience with the Humminbird Live or the Rants at all? Have you guys heard any more about those?
I have not. I've watched some videos here and there. I think as far as YouTube goes, it seems like Jay Siemens, last time I checked, had the most videos out there comparing them. The only thing I really took away, and that the Humminbird has a lot more wires, and I just don't think it's as clean as a unit of just being able to move around and instead of. But Garmin, they've been at it for longer, so you would think that they would have the better technology.
Right. Are you using the Garmin shuttle, or did you get an aftermarket one, or?
I got an aftermarket one.
Which one did you go with?
So I'm using a Gens pack, a Lowrance.
Okay.
Or not Lowrance, a Vexlar.
Okay.
Vexlar Gens pack, and I'm rigging it up all on that. So it's a little bit interesting getting that all on. Then
Right.
I put an amped lithium battery, so
Okay.
be able to make it through the day.
I went with the Summit HD shuttle.
Yep.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and I thought about it, but what are they? $300, $250?
$219 I think is what I paid for it, and then 140 or something for the pole. But
yeah, I have the Summit pole.
Yep.
I went with a fin.
Okay.
You did.
Huh?
You did. How do you like it?
Okay, but I would like to look at your Summit when you're up here next time. The big thing about the fin, it's good. It's strong. It's not going to fall apart. portability wise, I'd like to look at your Summit because from what I've heard, they're more portable. A little more to break down with the fin, I think, from what I've heard. But I just, when you come up next time, bring your Summit up, and I just want to look at it.
Yeah, the fin has a better open water pole
Okay.
from what I saw. It looks like it was a better system than the Summit, but the Summit sounds like it has a better ice package for sure. Yep.
So I bought an aftermarket. I don't know the name of it. I bought an aftermarket summer pole. It's telescoping. It looks strong. I got it here. It seems strong. It's all aluminum. There's no plastic. Well, we'll find out when we go to Erie in Florida here in a couple weeks, and I'll know a little more about it. You know, price wasn't that bad either, but we'll find out. I don't know. Maybe I'll go back to a Summit or a Fin. I don't know.
How do you mount yours on your boat, Garrett?
So I've got cracks on my boat. So I actually took a ample to attach to the pole. So I took a Scotty rod holder mount, and attached a ram ball to that, and then I'm able to just swing it out over the side, and that's what I use. And it works. The only issue with that is let's say I want to just go over a rock pile 5 miles an hour, see if anything's there, and go. That pole hold it.
Right.
Kind of same with trolling. If I'm going 2 miles an hour trying to pull that core.
So wouldn't it be better right on the end of your trolling motor, right off the bottom of it then at that point?
It probably would be, but I like being able to look around as I want.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of spot locking on rock piles and different things. If I had that thing spot locked, I wouldn't be able to look around. I don't know how many times the last I've done rock piles, look around.
There's a reason to have two.
There you go.
Right. You just have to take double the guide trips to be able to afford it.
Yep.
Real quick, Marshall, can you restate what you said a little bit ago about the Rainy River?
Well, I think Birchdale will go within the next 10 days. And then it'll be Frontier within 4 to 5 after that, Vitus within 3 after that. Badet will be a couple days after that. Wheeler's Point. It's usually after Birchdale goes, it's usually like 3 to Frontier, and then it's 3, 3, and 3 after that.
As long as we don't go below zero more.
Yeah, below zero. And, you know, I know it isn't looking like a lot of warm temps, but we don't have a lot of ice, so it's going to go.
So, and then, I mean, how much snow do you think you got on the ice up there right now?
Right now, our snowpack, I don't know about the river, but I'm thinking our snowpack is probably, well, we had about 6 inches of powder last weekend, but before that, we probably had maybe 6 inches of snowpack, so we don't have a lot.
Because a lot of it blew off, I suppose.
Yeah.
What did you get for snow last weekend?
About 6.
Okay, so we got 10 down here. What did you guys get out west there?
We had so much wind with that. I think we had all of 12.
Yeah, oof.
And but from what I saw in my front yard and my deck, I'd have to think that's what.
Man alive. Okay. How are you doing on time, Garrett?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Yep.
You got anything that off the top of your head you wanna talk about Devil's Lake?
Oh, yeah, the summer's coming around. Along as well as the guiding, I'm also involved in the beach out in Devil's Lake. We still have the winter stuff set up in the next week. Start over slowly. The open water stuff, those walleye sets up quarter on over again. We'll do our best to get leaving early as we can in May. Kind of all depends on what that water temp does and how the trappers are doing. But we'll try to keep people informed as much as we can. Do a fair amount with our Facebook page. If you check that out every Thursday, we do a fishing report. follow along with that and see how things are coming along.
What is your go-to summer bait? What's your favorite setup?
My favorite is bobber and a leech. I have a spot for a bobber. I haven't had anybody.
We're losing you a little bit on the audio again.
Bobbers and leeches are my go-to. Other than that, a bottom bouncer and a spinner and half a crawler.
Okay. What kind of speeds are you going with bottom bouncers?
Sticking around that 1 mile per hour.
Okay. And that'd be what how many ounces?
I run a 2-ounce bottom bouncer all the time. I know some guys like to kind of play around and do different things. I prefer the 2-ounce when I get people that don't necessarily know how to feel that bottom and they struggle. It seems like that 2-ounce does well, and I haven't seen it where our boats are spooking our fish, even in that 5 to 10 feet of water. Our water's dirty enough to where they don't seem to care.
Marshall, you're kind of the same, ain't you?
I am. I kind of go wave height with my weights of my sinkers, and I've talked to you about this before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like to start with 3/4 of an ounce, and then I go 1 ounce above that per wave height. So if you got a foot of chop, I'm at 1.5 ounces, 2 feet, 2.5, 3 feet. I'll go to 5 ounces. And it don't seem to bother them. I mean, when you have a 3-foot chop, you have to stay vertical as you can. You know, Garrett will probably agree.
Yeah, and we're fishing mostly that 5 to, I'd say, 20. We will get out some of that deeper stuff. I prefer not to get out in that much deeper than 30, just because then you're stuck keeping everything. But yeah, no, using that heavier stuff, and I'll bump up to 3 if needed, but usually stick around that 2.
What do you like to use for for blades?
Mostly Indiana. I'll use some Colorados. One thing that I've really started using a lot the last couple of summers has been Max Smiley blades. And it seems like maybe a day where the fish are a little bit more off, where the Indianas or the Colorados aren't quite producing, those Max can really do well. Another thing is some slow death here and there. I'll sprinkle that in.
Now, do you use pretty much leeches then, or crawlers, or?
I use crawlers for my spinners. I'll use a little bit of gulp here and there, kind of just see what the fish want. Seems like we get fewer fish on gulp, but usually a little nicer sized.
Are you using the double? What do they call them? I can't even think what they're calling now. The double hooks.
Harness.
Worm harness.
Yep. So I like to have a couple rolls of harnesses and a couple rolls of single hooks, and I'll usually use the single hook just because if you're into some of those smaller fish, which we've seen the last 2 summers, you're not worried about hooking them real deep and killing fish. That's one nice thing out here. We don't have any length restrictions, so if we do get a 12, 13 incher that's gut hooked, we're able to keep that fish and don't have to watch it float away. So I'll run both and just kind of see. There's some days where it seems like it makes a pretty big difference where you got to have that harness on there and you're catching them on the back hook and they're just getting the edge of it.
Just nipping it.
Yeah. Seem like they'll smash the thing. So.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever vary speed, or do you try to stay right at 1 all the time, or is it?
I'll bounce back and forth between 0.8 and 1.3. It kind of depends on the wind too. You know, if I'm drifting wind or if I'm fighting waves, we'll definitely change our speed up a little bit. We fish a lot of flooded roads, old shoreline stuff like that, to where if you're trying to stay on that edge and you're fighting a little bit of wind, your speed's varied quite a bit.
Because you're pretty much almost always fighting waves out there, aren't you?
For the most part, yeah. There's very few calm days.
Right. Because I think for Marshall, it's kind of the same. You're usually out there quite a ways. You're usually fighting a little bit of wind somehow. What are you using leeches mostly, Marshall, or?
I love leeches. Generally, we start out with jigging. Well, everybody knows Lake of the Woods and its shiners, frozen shiners, all the time. I'll pull a frozen shiner on a spinnerbait, but once we can get into that leech bite, it's awesome. Seems like your quality of fish get better when you can get into that leech bite, for sure. You might not catch the quantity, but your quality is better when they start nailing them leeches.
And one thing I found last summer, fishing a drop shot with a leech, that was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've started to do a little bit more of that, where I'll throw one in a rod holder on a lighter rod, and kind of like the snare deal that everybody's doing through the ice now. All of a sudden, you're at that thing and it's doubled over, and some days they can really outproduce those bobbers just in those waves going up and down.
Right. What's your ideal that, like, when we're talking conditions? What's the conditions that you just love to fish in, Garrett? Like, what you're going to have a good day. What's your perfect day on Devil's Lake?
You know, my favorite time on Devil's Lake is July and August. I know that goes against what everybody thinks. You got to be out there in May and June. July and August every day of the week. Give me about a 6 to 12-inch chop and 75 degrees, maybe partly cloudy, and bobbers and leeches, and we can have a pretty fun day. That's kind of my favorite go-to day.
Do you like to fish more structure or mud?
I prefer structure. I will get some mud bites throughout the summer. The thing with mud is, there's no rhyme or reason to it, and that's the most frustrating thing to it.
Yep.
Unless you really got those fish kind of dialed and they're not moving a whole lot, it can be frustrating. Where at least with structure, you can somewhat pick your way through it.
Right, and wait on them anyway, and you at some point in time they're going to come through. Yep.
And that was one thing with the live scope. Going back to that, where I'd see a rock pile or something where, okay, I fished here the day before, or maybe I fished it a couple days ago. Let's spin over the top of it with my 2D sonar, see if I see anything, and if I do, stop and fish. And sure enough, I'd just roll over it, mark a few fish, set up, throw the live scope down, and all of a sudden I'd look over and I'd see, well, they're 40 feet off the structure. They're out in the mud.
Mm-hmm.
Roll over with the trolling motor, hit spot lock. Next thing you know, you get out there and you start catching fish. So that was one nice thing with that live scope, being able to see those fish out in the mud and be able to target a bit easier.
What's your favorite day look like on Lake of the Woods?
My favorite day on Lake of the Woods is when I come out of the Lighthouse Gap, and she's about a 1.5 foot chop out of the northwest. And Lake of the Woods is, honestly, the old timers will say, bigger the water, bigger the fish. But you got, if your customers can't handle it, you got to keep them happy too.
Yep.
Some of the best days of the fishing I've had have been in big water.
Yeah, just
big water doesn't hurt. I mean, you just got to be able to tolerate it.
Right. As long as you have the appropriate boat,
Yes. Big water you just got to be able to tolerate it. I mean, and that's the thing about here is it's an animal. It really is. And it's its own animal, and it will humble you.
What is, I mean, the common day is probably a foot, 2 foot, I suppose.
Foot and a half. What I tell people when they call me and say, we're bringing our own boat up and it's an 18-foot boat, is it big enough for Lake of the Woods? I say, absolutely. And they're like, well, we're going to come for 3-4 days. Well, when you're coming for 3-4 days, expect to get on the water for about 2.5 days, but the wonderful thing is you always have the river, and it ain't just always about walleyes. You got smallies, you got northerns, you got everything else you can mix into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What are you running for charter boats?
We have 3 27-footers, sport crafts, and then we have 205 Alumina Craft Trophy we run small boat trips with, and then we have an 18-foot Crestliner that we run too.
How many people can you fit on one of them sport crafts?
6. We're licensed to 6.
Okay.
Yep. And our little boats, we like 3. We'll do 4. 4 gets a little bit on the crowded side, but 3 is ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. Garrett, if someone's coming out to Bryce there, they're going to fish with you, what are they going to be fishing in?
So I run a Nitro ZV20 with a 3 Pro XS. Most of the guys are running 20-foot fiberglass boats, 20 foot. So it very comfortable that way. And one nice thing with Devil's Lake is we have so many different boat ramps across the lake to where we trailer every day, and we'll play the wind and we'll go where we need to go, and we're an enjoyable day. And there's some days we do have to cancel, but very few, maybe 1 to 3 a summer.
What's kind of your predominant wind out there?
West to north, northwest.
Okay. What would you say up there, Marshall?
It's that west, northwest.
Okay. I'm not sure about your question, Brandon. Lead core or 50+2? I don't pull cranks really, so.
I'm guessing he's going for the 50 feet, 2 ounce snap weight.
Okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense. How many guys do you typically take in your boat, Garrett?
2 or 3. I will do 4, but as Marshall was saying, 4 gets a little tight, and if you don't have guys that can maybe handle the waves or handle the type of fishing you're doing, it can be a little bit more challenging. And if you do have a group that's good with it, then it's no problem. So just kind of.
Okay, all right. You guys, how fast do you book up?
As far as summer goes, it's filling up. June's pretty booked already. July and August, there's some gaps in there. September and into October. So if guys are looking to try to do a duck hunt and sneak in an afternoon of fishing or just a day of fishing, there's always some opportunity there. And kind of same with ice fishing. A lot of the groups are booking 6 months to a year in advance. So earlier is better with us.
How's it looking for your appointment books, Marshall?
Our June weekends always will be booked a year in advance. There's a little bit of midweek availability in June. July, I haven't looked at the books, but there might be a couple weekends in July left, and there's usually midweek available in July, August. August, there's probably still a weekend here and there available.
Okay. What's your busy time up on Lake of the Woods? What's your busiest month?
June.
Yep, I was going to say.
I would say it's June and the last 2 weeks of August.
How about for you, Garrett?
We're pretty similar. June's kind of nuts, and one thing that's interesting with us, and I'm sure Marshall, you saw the same thing with COVID. All these people started coming up that had gone to Canada for the last 20 years, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how many of those people don't go back to Canada. How many people that are going to go? How many people are going to make Lake of the Woods or Devil's Lake their destination now?
I think you've probably seen it as much as I have, though, with those customers, Garrett, where they've said, why did we do Canada? Because this is a blast, and it's closer, and it's easier, and it's,
And you can bring.
I've had customers that have said that, and I'm sure you have too.
Yeah, and you can bring more fish home, and
the
whole thing is easier.
What is your limit out on Devil's Lake?
We're 5 walleyes per day with a 2-day possession limit.
Okay.
So we're able to send people home with 10 walleyes per person.
Okay.
How about is it still 6, Marshall? 4 and 2?
Still 6, and it's an aggregate limit, so it's hard to explain for the person that doesn't understand an aggregate limit. So it's a walleye sauger aggregate limit, which is a combination limit of 6. No more than 4 of those 6 can be a walleye. So you can have 2 walleyes and 4 saugers, or you can have 4 walleyes, 2 saugers. You can have 6 saugers, but no time can you ever have more than your 4 walleyes.
And no possession limit. Basically, the possession limit is...
Your possession limit is your daily limit, which only means 6.
Now, would you... Remember when I said that about the dog, Garrett? No, not sorry if your dog barks. Threw me off course here. What if the DNR in North Dakota were to change the walleye limits and lessen them, would you be for it or against it?
As far as the walleye limits go, I think we're pretty good there. I don't really see a change be made. If we did, maybe you go to 4 per day with an 8 possession. I don't know how much that would really change. Or another thing I guess you could do is maybe we go to a 4-day limit with a 12 possession, and then you get people to come for 3 days if you're looking for more of the tourism dollars. The limit that I could see changing, and I don't know if it will or not, back to me saying I'm not a biologist, I don't play one on TV, but
Right.
maybe be the perch limit. I could see maybe that coming down.
It's 20 right now, right?
20, yep, 20 with 40 possession, and that actually used to be 80 possession. That's only been 3-4 years that's been 40 for the possession limit.
How about what do you think, Marshall, after this winter?
Everybody's like seems a little bummed after this winter. I was talking to John. John's been on the show with me here, and our winter, honestly, Cody, wasn't that bad of a winter. I wouldn't call it. Actually, John was calling it as good or maybe a little better than last year. Would I like to see the limits changed? That's a hard one. It's a real hard one. If we're going to change limits, I'd like to see some real good sense thought into it. Maybe a multiple day possession limit if we're going to cut them, like Garrett was talking. If we have cut it down from say 4 walleyes to 2, then give people a 2-day possession. That's going to cut down on a lot of things. And one thing I don't agree with, and I think I've said this before with you, is I don't agree with shore lunches because I think all that promotes is overfishing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how your feeling is on that or Garrett's feeling is on that, but I'm not a big fan of shore lunches. I just think it just promotes people to reload again.
I like doing a shore lunch once in a while, but I agree. I think that over limit. Here's my biggest gripe about Lake of the Woods, and I don't know about Devil's Lake, but I fished Devil's Lake once and ran into a conservation officer that time. Lake of the Woods, not enough enforcement. I think there needs to be more enforcement on Lake of the Woods.
Well, I agree 100%. I don't think there's enough enforcement. I don't think that I don't know why either. I've said it for years. I know every one of our conservation officers up here personally. I know, well, the person that put me with you, I am very good friends with. We went to high school together, and I've had multiple conversations with him about this. And I've always said there's not enough enforcement up here.
Yep.
You got to have enforcement. And if you don't have a face on the water, even if you're not checking every boat every day, just a face on the water is huge.
Right. To know
personally. And I don't have a problem with it because when I'm on my charter boat, we're legal. I don't care. I run a business and I'm not going to run it not right. Yeah. And I'm sure Garrett's the same way.
Yep, very similar. And we, I guess we're fortunate enough to say we do have a fairly good game warden presence around pretty much every Friday, Saturday in the summertime. You're going to find them either on the water or at one of the major boat ramps on the lake. So seeing them out is pretty good. We don't have the shore lunches out here. Nobody does them. So that's one thing that we really don't have to worry about, I guess. It's something that we haven't really come across. So I guess I don't have too much time.
And when I say not enough enforcement, I think we need to clarify this, Marshall. I'm not saying that the guys up there aren't doing their jobs. I'm saying there's not enough guys up there to do the job.
100% agree with you. Yep. The guys up here are awesome guys. I mean, we got new guy. His name's Cody, and we got Eric and Rozo and Jeremy in Thief River Falls and Nick down in Black Duck, they're up here, and Ben and everybody else, and they're good guys. I mean, they're doing their job. I mean, everybody says they've had a bad experience with a conservation officer. I can count the amount of times I've had a bad experience with a conservation officer on less than one hand, and it's right there.
Right.
You just you obey the laws, and you're going to be fine. You know.
And nobody likes getting a ticket. I mean, nobody likes getting a ticket, but just I guess that sometimes happens. If I look at it as if I do something where I'm going to get cited, then I guess I got to pay the fine. It is what it is. But it's I know there's so many over limits coming off Lake of the Woods.
There is.
Slot stuff, guys fishing with 4 lines, and, just all kinds of stuff, but that's the guys that are ruining it for all of us.
If they have 4 full-time conservation officers on this lake, they could have 12 and it still wouldn't be enough as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know how Devil's Lake goes. I don't know how many conservation officers you have on that lake, Garrett. But I mean, there's 4 or 5 full-time guys on our lake, and it's like 1.5 million acres. It's not enough as far as I'm concerned.
So Brandon in the chat here just sent me an article that the Red Lake Band is intending to restore a portion of Upper Red Lake. Have you heard anything about that, Marshall?
Restore? Like, what do you mean restore?
Well, I'm just reading through the article here. So it almost looks like it says at the State of the Band address on March 10th, tribal chairman shared that the band will look to contact the United States Secretary of Interior to discuss restoring the reservation boundaries to fully include Upper Red Lake.
So as far as opening it?
I don't think that would be opening it. I think they want to take it back the way it looks.
Really? That is going to be... Well, I'd have to think about that answer for a while, because that...
I don't even want to think about it. I'm not going to comment.
I don't even want to think about it. I don't know. I would have to seriously ponder that answer for a while, because that's something that ain't going to happen tomorrow. It ain't going to happen next year.
Yep.
I would really have to look into that statement, because I can't see how that has a lot of fluidity.
I'll send you the. Well, it's on PBS, so I'll send you the link when we get done. But that would make things really interesting, wouldn't it? And who knows? I mean, I won't even touch that political hot potato, but not that I'm not scared just to.
That's a political hot potato.
I'm not scared to speak my opinion, but it usually gets me in trouble, so I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, so you guys got any anything else you kind of want to discuss, or?
I don't know. We got a lot of snow, a lot of ice out there yet. So if anybody's trying to make a last minute trip up here, it is definitely possible. I'd say snowmobile or Ranger with tracks. If you are going to come up with a Ranger with tracks, I'd go with a buddy, because you do have a chance to get stuck. What the next snowstorm does, but we definitely have some ice around, and I'd say for at least 2 weeks. So
you got if someone wanted to go with you guys. If someone wanted to go with you guys, would they be able to do that?
Yeah, we're pretty much done at this point. Just with the way the slush is and everything, really hard on the.
Okay. How about you, Marshall? Any parting thoughts?
We're winding our ice season down. Roads are still open. Roads are still good, but how long that'll last, I don't know. Time to start thinking about walleyes and sturgeon. Sturgeon's coming, and sturgeon's fun.
Yep. Tip
Biggest
ups.
fish you can catch in Minnesota, so think about it.
Tip ups.
Yep.
Don't
Tip
forget
ups,
tip ups.
northerns. Even when the open water comes, northerns are fun.
Hmm. Yeah, I think we need to get together too, Marshall, this spring and try some smallmouth too.
Let's do it.
So
It's a blast. I got into it a little more last summer than I ever have before, and it's good. It's fun. And it ain't just Lake of the Woods ain't just about walleyes. I mean, there's so much more. I mean, you got your smallies, and you got your northerns, and you got your muskies, and you got whatever you want to do. I mean, we don't guide muskies. I've never gotten into it. I don't. There's so many good muskie guides up here. I'm not gonna get into it. But the smallies and the northerns and the walleyes, they're fun, and the smallies are a lot of fun. They're a blast.
yeah, they sure can be. They sure can be. So all right, well, Garrett, it was good to meet you, and I've been getting emails from you all winter, and didn't
Yeah.
realize that they always come from Mark's email address. So I
Yep.
guess I won't give him the credit for it anymore.
No, he definitely writes a few, so I can't say that I write all the fishing reports for Ed's, but yeah, thanks for having us on, and nice to meet you, Marshall, as well.
Nice to meet you, Garrett.
Okay, so we'll probably maybe towards open water time we'll get back on here and try this again.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
So all right, you guys take care. Have a good night.
All right, thank you. You too.
Thank you.
See ya.